Hey, shalom. Shalom, Yanasi. Betty, Troy, Brooke, Devorah, Julie. Glad you all made it. Thanks for being on time, guys. That's great. Hopefully the others will roll in soon, maybe while we're saying a prayer. So tonight we'll be doing Hebrew immersion in the Psalms. So we're on Psalm 119, starting with verse 25 tonight. Right? That's the daleth couplets, the couplets that start with daleth. So I'll just say, Avinu Malkeinu. מי כמוך בעינים אדוני, אין לנו אלוה ומגן בלי תך, אין לנו מושיע בלי תך. מודיעים אנחנו אדוני כי נתת לנו את בנך משיחנו, וגם נתת לנו את תורתך. אנחנו אוהבים את דבריך אדוני, תעשנה אותנו ללמודו בעיניך הלילה הזאת. וכל הדברים האלה אנחנו נברכך בזכות ישוע המשיח. All right. And maybe we'll just get a quick drink real quick while we're waiting for the others to come in. That was great. I have carbonated water. I really like carbonated water. It helped me to quit sodas. I always like that burn from the soda, you know? Hey, Shalom Yakar. Okay, let's see. It's saying not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, huh? Well, let's hope that gets resolved. Let me just check my internet real quick. Oh, it's on Wi-Fi. Sit tight. I'm going to change something. Sit tight. Sit tight. Why did that happen again? You know, I think the cat is unplugging the LAN connection. 1 minute, folks. Come on. Just going to check the streaming output real quick. Oh, it's set very fast. Well, you guys let me know if it's blurry or something by you, and we'll determine if there's actually a problem or not, okay? So I think not, but we'll see. Okay, so let's get to it. All right, where are we? Daleth. There we go. All right. So far, we've done 3 couplets. Betty and Yanasi like, oh, blame the cat, right? So Aleph, Beit, Gimel, we've done already. So we're on Daleth tonight, right? Each letter from the Hebrew alphabet are 8 verses in Psalm 119. The verses start with that letter. I hope it's flowing for you guys. YouTube keeps complaining about. We are sending it out in 4K, so I don't know. Maybe the neighbors are using the internet tonight. All right, so here we go. There's Kaf, Hey, that's 25, verse 25. Daveka le'afar nafshi. So davak is like to cleave. And le, lamad is to, the is the, and afar is dust. Hey, shalom, Brooke, glad you're here. And Troy, I'm not sure if I missed you before. Yeah, so the reason it's a here, there's a special rule. If you have an ayin that your word starts with, and it has this little T-looking vowel under it, the the comets, and the accent is over here, which we see it is, here's the accent mark, then that's the way that you say the. You say instead of ah. So le afar is to the dust. Nafshi, this means the nephesh of me, my nephesh. So Nephesh, it means a lot of things. Maybe I should make this one of the words of the day. It's just hard to get it in 60 seconds. So nephesh can mean soul. It can mean life force. It can mean throat. It can mean corpse. It can mean mind sometimes. That's more rare in the wisdom literature. And so here it's probably something like neck. It's probably going to be like neck, right? Like in one of the Psalms, David says the water, the shetif mayim ad nafshi, the flooding of the water is up until my nephesh, right? So he's clearly not saying up until my soul, right? Up into my life force, but up into my neck, that makes sense. So let's go with neck here. So davakali afar nafshi, my neck cleaves. See, it's feminine. It's she cleaved, literally, right? She cleaves le'afar. Now, we can use a perfect here because it's poetry, right? So it's going to work even for a present tense. Hey, shalom Esther, to the dust. Chayeni kidvarecha. So this word, it's related to chayim, like chayim, life, right? You know, lechayim, to life, when you have a drink. And it's a piel form, so it's that intensive form. Remember, I told you guys that if you take the verb and you make it intensive, sometimes the meaning is obvious, right? Like shavar is to break, but I make it intensive, shider, and it means to utterly smash to pieces. So in this case, with chayim, to be intensive, it means something like restore to life, right? Like bring back to life, right? So chaya by itself is to live. But this intensive form is like it can mean to let live, right? Or to restore to life, like to bring back to life, something like that. So maybe, he's saying my throat is cleaving to the dust. This can also mean mud if it's wet, right? So he's in a bad situation. He's laying in the mud, laying in the dirt, right? And he says, Chayeni, the ni is me. Restore me. Ki, according to, davar is word, cha, yours. Like for the Filipinos, like in Tagalog, ka. Almost the same as Hebrew cha, right? Ki dvarecha, according to your word. Okay. Verse kaf vav, that's 26. Maybe I'll pause just for a second, let you guys think about that. Have a drink of water. Okay. Oh, lovely. So cold. Now, this part's a bit tricky. So it says, Derachai siparti, v'ta'aneni lamedeni chukecha. So derachai, it looks on the surface like it's derech. You know derech, right? Derech is a way, right? We had this as one of the Hebrew words of the day. For those of you who are Mandalorian fans, remember I had the Mandalorian at the bottom. This is the way. So derech means way or path. The first believers in Yeshua, it was a Jewish sect, right? You had Hillelite Pharisees, you had Shemite Pharisees, you had Essenes, we had the Qumran sect, we had the Am Haaretz, we had the Tzedokim, the Sadducees, and others. There were so many different sects in the first century, denominations of Judaism, and there became a new denomination of Judaism. It was called the Followers of the Way. They weren't called Christians. They were the Followers of the Way at first. And so that's that word, derech. Now, the yod at the end means my, right, of me. And the I, derachai, means my ways. But it's not going to work so well, we see when we read this. And it's interesting. I looked at Sweet Septuagint, and in that Septuagint, it doesn't say derachai. It says, what is it? Tashodus su, which means your ways. Darchecha. Isn't that interesting? So the primary text of the Septuagint, the Sweets version, instead of darchai, instead of tashodus mu, it says tashodus su, right? Like we get su in Spanish, similar to the Greek, right? So that's interesting. So keep that in mind. We'll translate the rest and we'll come back to this and we'll deal with this word. Siparti. This is related to the word sefer. which we've had in the Hebrew word of the day. A sefer is a book or a scroll, and it's related to this word. Siper means either to count, or like when we say the blessing for the Omer that Christopher always reminds us of at the end of the teaching. um, it also means to tell, right? Like to tell somebody about it. I guess it's like you're recounting something to them, just like in English. Can you recount to me what happened? Right? The details. Julie says, if derech path ends in a kaf sofi, then how would my path be spelled? No, this is. It's not that it's the kaf sofi. It's the yod. This is a normal kaf. Yeah. So derech is path, and then the yod usually, okay. And in Torah Hebrew, this means my. All right. It gets a little tricky in the Psalms because many of the Psalms were written in different eras. Some of them are ancient, right? And in some of them, you're going to find that we use the Phoenician ending for his, which is a yod, right? So this could be his path. It could just mean like the Phoenician. We see this in some of the Psalms. It's not saying that it copied from Phoenician. Phoenician is also an old Semitic language. So it's just showing us that Hebrew used to do it that way. The yod could be a my or his. Don't get too confused. This is a psalm. Psalms can get very complicated. The reason I'm including the Psalms in our immersion studies is I want everybody to have a piece of something, and they're just so spiritual and powerful, even though they can be very difficult. So don't get discouraged if you get very confused on the Psalms. It's okay. All right. Some of them are very clear. When I lived in Israel, one of my friends, he found out that I was strong in the Psalms in Hebrew, right? And he knew I was a programmer, I had programming experience, and I was considering making an app. And he got so excited. I was going to make an app for Israelis that would have the Psalm. Actually, my plan was originally for Americans. I remember now. It's for English speakers. I was going to make it so people could understand the Psalms, right? You'd hover your mouse over the word, and it was going to tell you in English what it means and give you the grammatical information. And he said, no, do it in Hebrew. I said, what do you mean? He said, no, make it so that when you put the mouse over it, or the word, or you click on it, it tells you in modern Hebrew what the word means. Because Israelis don't understand a lot of the Psalms, right? Modern Hebrew is very different. And some of the language in the Psalms, even the Masoretes didn't get all of it. The guys who pointed the text, they're confused about some of the endings that now, because of linguistics, we actually can understand, Baruch Hashem, from the discovery of Ugaritic and knowledge of Phoenician, stronger knowledge of Phoenician and things like this. So the yod in very old Hebrew can mean his, okay? But I don't want that to confuse you, okay? Because almost all the time it's going to mean mine. So this could be darchai, his, okay? But that's not what's going to be here. It's even more confusing. So we'll come back. Siparti. The T reminds you of ani, I, right? I told about, I related. You're welcome, Julie. Lita'aneni. Oh, so you're asking specifically about your path, right? That would be dakhecha. I understand now your question better. Dakhecha. Okay, so it'd be daleth, patach, resh, shwa, kaf, patach, kaf sofit, comments. Dakhecha. Okay, I'm sorry, vocal schwa on this next last letter. Okay, so if that's what you're asking. So siparti, I were told that ta'aneni. This is the verb anna, ayin nun hey, and the hey went away, which means to answer. The tav it reminds you of ata, you. So ta'ane, that you answer, me. Vata'aneni, and you answered me. Lamadeni, teach me. And by the way, this is interesting. Lamad is to study, and then this is the intensive form of the verb we talked about. See how the middle letter, lamed mem daleth, the mem is the middle root letter. See how it's got a strong dagesh? It's doubled. In Hebrew, the intensive form of of studying means teaching. Lamad is study, limed is teach. Isn't that interesting? So like when you teach, you're really learning. Okay. Lamadeni, teach me chukecha, your chuqim, your statutes. Right? So this was chuqim, and it dropped the mem, and we added the kaf there at the end. Chukecha. Okay? Now we're going to come back to this darachai. All right? So Septuagint is saying it's tas hodus su, your ways. And that's exactly what Julie was asking about, right? And it's not written that way in the simple Hebrew. But here is a suggestion from Mitchell Dahood in his 3-volume commentary called The Grammar of the Psalter. And he suggests that really this is a construct form, darche, which is like where we have derachim, and we drop the mem, so it means ways of, and then we're borrowing this kaf here. Remember I said in poetry, the endings can sometimes be borrowed, right? It can be what's called like a double duty. Oh, we don't have to borrow that one. We can even borrow from our same verse. We could borrow this one here. It's the same verse, right? So this would be a double duty suffix, we'd call it. It doesn't happen in normal prose that often, but in poetry it can happen, right? Because you're trying to make it the right number of beats and stuff. You don't want it to be too long. So instead of putting a darkecha, that's another syllable, the psalmist instead just said darche, and the Madrash they pointed at derachai, right? But it should have been darche if Dahood is right. And then the cha is borrowed here, so it is going to be darchecha, like Julie was asking about. There'll be your ways with that extra yod in there. I said your way before when you asked, so your ways. Okay, so your ways I've shared, I retold, v'ta'aneni, and you have answered me, like kind of rewarding him for having done this. Teach me your statutes. So it starts out, my body's in the mud, my neck is in the mud. Restore life to me by means of your word or according to your word. Your ways I have told them. I've talked about them. I've related them, and as a result, you have answered me. Right? That means answered prayer specifically. Teach me your chuqim. The chuqim are the mitzvot. We had the Hebrew word of the day. I think it was yesterday. Was mitzvah, right? Right? Command, mitzvah, command, and it does mean a command, right? And chuqim is also a kind of command, but mitzvah is a command that God gives us the reason for it, and He gives us what's going to happen, the reward for doing it. And the chuqim, we don't even know what the reward is, or if there's a reward, or even why to do it. So it takes great faith to keep the chuqim, right? Like a lot of people that think that kosher is, well, it's healthy, and okay, well, maybe. But He doesn't say that it's healthy. So even keeping kosher is chuqim. I mean, if it's just about health, here's a slippery slope, guys. If you say that keeping kosher is just about because it's healthy, then you've set yourself up to say, well, I can eat organic pork. Because everything that it seems like all the data that organic pork can be healthy. At least especially you get a lean piece or whatever, but it's not kosher. It's a chok. We don't know why He doesn't want us to do it, but we do it. It's for breeding obedience in us, right? So the psalmist is saying, teach me those kind of commands. This is the same word that's used in Revelation for the righteous garment, right? The righteous garment, the dikaiomata in the Greek, it maps to this word, the chuqim. Most translations say righteous deeds. It's composed of the righteous deeds, but it's really composed of the commandments that take great faith to keep because we don't even know why. We don't see the sense in it, right? That was for them in the desert, trichinosis. You could get those worms from the pigs. They had no refrigerators. La, la, you've heard it a million times in Messianic or Hebrew roots places, okay? But in reality, it's chuqim. It's not just about keeping healthy. It was to keep healthy, He would have said. He would have made it mitzvah, so you'll be healthy. Okay? But there are many things we can eat that aren't kosher that are healthy. Healthy for the body, healthy for the animal, but not healthy for the neshama. Yeah, statutes. That's how I translated when I first went through was statutes. Yanasi says in the ESV it's translated as when I told of my ways. Yeah. So they're sticking to the darachai. That's okay. That's how it's written. And if we go with what's called SBH, Standard Biblical Hebrew, the main Hebrew dialect that's in the Bible, then yeah, that's what it says, right? Or you could translate it by means of my ways I have told. So maybe it's saying like I have demonstrated, right? Like showing other people. That's possible. That's possible. I'm not gonna, poo-poo the ESV. It's a pretty good Bible translation. Okay? But I'm just sharing with you that scholars fight a lot about this stuff, about these deeper meanings in the Psalms and this is older Hebrew, right? So some of it. All right. Verse 27. Derech pikudecha havineni. I got to get a drink, but I'll go ahead and translate real quick since I said it. I won't make you wait. Derech, so that's the path of pikudecha. So pikudim are like enumerated laws, right? The full list of maybe smaller details, right? So the piqudim, your enumerations, can I say that? I'm not sure if that's a good English word choice. Right. Yanasi says, in the end, all translations are commentary. So true. That is a very good statement. So the pikudim, we drop the mem, the pikude, so it's like you know, the regulations. That's probably a good thing. The regulations of cha, of you, your regulations. The path of your regulations, havineni. The root is being, beit yod nun, which means to understand. So if you've had a little bit of modern Hebrew, you probably learned ani mevin, I understand, right? Or a woman, ani mevina, I understand, right? Ata mevin, at mevina, right? Okay, so that's from this root to understand. But this is a hiphil. See the hey? The hey at the word at the beginning. And when you have that hey stuck at the beginning, it means a causative, right? So cause to understand, make understand, right? Elucidate me, make me understand the way of your regulations. Make me understand. Asichah beniflotecha. Okay, asiach. This word, it's like to think about, to muse. Really, I learned it as muse. I think that's from one of the older lexicons, probably Gesenius. A few decades back. I think I learned it as muse. Really, what it is, it's like to think joyously of, to think about his praise, to consider. It can even mean to speak softly about, you're so great, God. That's what it is. That's siach, right? So, asichah. The hey at the end is an emphatic K. So this is a cohortative. So now let me think praisingly, right? Or let me speak softly praisingly. Be, about or concerning. Nifleot. This means wonders. Wonders, like miraculous things. Wonders of cha, of you, your wonders. Oh yeah, precepts. That's good for piqudim. Yeah, thanks, Anasi. That's good. Or regulations. I'm not sure that everybody knows what precepts means, but you're right. That's a good translation. Hold on, let me get a drink. Did you get that from the ESV? Hey, shalom and tatasas. Ooh, so thirsty. All right. All right, let's see. Verse. Kaf, hate. That's 2 and 8. 28. Ah, good. Yeah. Precepts is good. All right. Daleth. Basically, the idea is the piqudim, it's the enumerated lists of commands, right? And it kind of has a feeling of, lesser commands. That's what it feels like to me, the piqudim, right? So we're not talking like the Aidut, the Ten Commandments, for example, right? The Aseret, Debarot, something like that. Okay, 28. Dalefa nafshi mituga kayemeni kedvarecha. All right. Dalefa. So Dalefa is like to be unable to sleep, right? Like, you know, some say it means to sag. There's actually some debate about this word. So it's feminine, Dalafa, like she was sleepless or she sagged. Who sagged? Nafshi. So you could say my soul. Maybe he's getting poetic here. And a lot of times what will happen, the psalmist, when he uses the same word, what he's doing is he's teasing out one of the other meanings of the word. So Hebrew parallelism is a very powerful tool used all throughout the Bible. Usually what people focus on are when you have two words that are different words. And one of them is a very rare word, maybe a hapax legomemnon, only happening one time, right? And so, like Ibn Ezra explains, don't worry when you see a word that's very rare, the meaning is also given. He means in parallel, right? The same verse or right next to it, they'll use a synonym, okay? That's one type of Hebrew parallelism. Another type is, you know how I'm always sharing with you guys how the words have many meanings? So the psalmist will take the same word and use it in two places, and he's using parallelism to tease out a secondary meaning from the word, right? So up here, nafshi was probably like my neck, right? My neck is cleaving to the dust, right? He's almost dead. He's laying down, basically. It's poetic, saying he's laying down. But here, dalafa is sagging or sleepless. Let's maybe go sagging nafshi. So now, nephesh can mean corpse. In Vaikra, which we're now in the triennial cycle in Vaikra, so get ready. When you see nephesh, it'll say if you come across a nephesh in the field, it's not saying like a soul is in the field. It's saying a corpse, right? That's another nuance of this word. Biblical Hebrew is very heavily nuanced, and this is probably the number one error that I find with people who I call them. They have enough knowledge to be dangerous in Hebrew, but they really don't know what they're talking about. Basically, they've learned some glosses, right? And they'll make like very heavy teachings based on those glosses, but they don't even realize the word has other meanings too, right? So I'm not thinking of anybody in particular, just saying I've seen this a lot out there. And it's understandable because most languages you don't have to worry about the heavy nuancing, but biblical Hebrew we do. We do. I mean, one of the reasons is because, let's face it, the Hebrew Bible is written over a period over 1,000 years. So you're gonna gain some nuancing in there. You're gonna have different tribes using things different ways. You're gonna get the Southern Kingdom, the Northern Kingdom, in the different times. So don't be discouraged. Don't worry. Torah Hebrew is pretty easy to break into, right? And Torah should be your primary goal. But the Psalms are also great. So we'll get the Psalms piecemeal. Okay. So probably here, he's not saying my corpse, but it feels to me he's hinting, right? He just said his neck was in the dust. So he's almost dead at this point, it sounds. Or maybe he means spiritually. It could be a metaphor. So now, this could be my corpse. So maybe we'll say like, my body, right? I think the meaning here is like my body. My body is sagging, or my body is sleepless, right? Mituga, from tuga. So min is from, remember it's min. Min is the word for from, and the noon has assimilated in the tav here, right? We got the strong dagesh. Julie says, is there another word for corpse? Yeah, nevilah. Nevilah is the normal word for corpse. Nevilah. It's so strange to me that the same word that denotes life would also infer death. Yeah, well, life force. The word for life is chayim. Chayim. Like, you hold up the wine glass, l'chayim, right? To life, for life. Okay? So chayim is life, right? And mayim chayim, right? Living waters. That means spring water in Hebrew, right? That's why Yeshua gives this whole talk to the Samaritan woman about the living waters, right? The hudatos, what is it? Hudatos ayinos? Wait. Oh, hudatos sontos in the Greek. Literally from Hebrew, mayim chayim. And she's confused because he's talking, it sounds to her like spring water. She's like, oh, give me the spring water. Because we over-spiritualize the term in English, right? Because we're used to reading Yeshua saying it. But in Hebrew, it just means like spring water, ocean water, anything that's flowing or has a source, right? Water coming down the mountain, hot springs coming up, that's all living waters. And so he's doing this little play on words, making it spiritual, right? When it really, and she thinks it's like, okay, where's spring water? So chayim means living, right? Or alive. Yeah, nephesh is life force, right? So we use nephesh to mean life. Yeah, it can be my life. It's true. The psalmist will say nafshi, and he can mean my life. He can use it that way. They do use it that way sometimes. You can also say, but if we say in a prayer, like some of you I know were interested in like biblical Hebrew prayers, we usually won't say nafshi for life, unless you're saying a psalm. Usually we'll say chayai, right? Like Tihyeh iti or tihyeh imadi kol yamei chayai, be with me all the days of my life, right? So we'll usually say from chayim for that word for life. That's the normal word for life. Nephesh is a little bit kind of poetic, right? And then to be used for a corpse, it's a technical term, right? Like the word that you asked about for corpse, nevilah, that can be an animal corpse or a human corpse, right? But nephesh is just a human corpse. You see, it's very specific. So it's still coming back to the human soul. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, this happens also with chesed. We have chesed number 1 and chesed number 2. Chesed, everybody knows chesed, that's grace. Loving kindness, right? Clan loyalty, familial loyalty, all good stuff. But did you know that chesed number 2 means shame or embarrassment? It's like, context. Yeah. Or Yanasi says, you could say my soul. Yeah, if when in doubt, just say my soul. It's just, the problem with English, people usually think the soul is the part that is you, right? The part that survives when you die. But in biblical Hebrew, the soul is the part that dies. And because it dies, your body dies. The body needs the soul. That's why I say life force, right? It's the thing that animates all your cells. That's the nephesh, right? That's why we're told that God made Adam and Eve, nephesh chaya, a living soul, right? Yeah. Okay, good. Good. Nice comments. Okay. 15 likes, not too bad. Not too bad. If you forgot to like, please do. I would appreciate it. If you can't click like, that means you're not logged into YouTube. You need to log in either with a Gmail account, you can log in or something like that, and then you can participate in the chat as well. All right, where are we? I lost my place with that rabbit trailing. Okay. Okay. Mituga. Tuga is grief. From grief. I got to get a drink. Sorry. So thirsty when I teach. Okay, great. All right, continuing. Kayemeni. Oh, this one's interesting. Kidvarecha. So we have again the kidvarecha. Look at that. That's a nice inclusio with here, right? Right. So here he's talking about how his neck is in the dust. Restore me to life according to your word, right? Which is very interesting because who's the word? In Jewish Aramaic, we say the memra, right? And that's halogos, right? That's Yeshua is the word. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? He's the life. And so here, your word is what's going to bring the psalmist back to full health. Now, he says, kayameni. So the verb is kum, okay? It's kum, which is to stand up, like Yeshua says to the little girl, kuma, Tabitha, arise. Tabitha, even captured in the Greek, his Jewish Aramaic words actually when he says that, kuma, Tabitha, right? Get up, girl, right? So, but this is actually a PL version. So the vav became a yod, and you see the dagesh in the yod. It's a strong dagesh. So this doesn't really mean get up. It means like strengthen when it's in the PL. Okay. I guess the idea is you're strong enough that you can get up, right? Strengthen me. Strengthen me. Kidvarecha. According to your word. Nice. Okay, verse Kaf Tet. Just checking the time. We are great on time. May even finish early tonight. Can you believe it? 29. Derech sheker haser mimeni. Derech sheker. A way of sheker is falseness, or it's not exactly lie. It's kind of like deceit. A lot of these words overlap. So usually the word for lie we use, that's fine. It's different. So kazav is usually lie, right? But sheker, it can also mean a lie. So the path of falseness. I'm just going to say this. Haser. So it's the verb sur, which is to turn, and then this is a hiphil. So he's saying cause it to turn, right? Cause it to turn or remove it. Mimeni. From me. Torat'kha, but your Torah became Torat, right? Remember when the hey becomes a tav for these feminine nouns, it means of. Torah is Torah, and Torat is Torah of. Although in Arabic, that's still how you say Torah. Torat, they say the Torah or the Torah. So Torat'kha, the Torah of you, choneni. Choneni, this is from Hanan, like to give favor, to be gracious. So, but by means of your Torah, with your Torah, choneni, deal graciously or give favor to me, treat me favorably. Isn't that interesting? The Torah is the mechanism for God's favor. All right. Lamed, that's 30. Right? So if you're doing your counting, Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dal, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod, that's 10. And then we have all the weird things, Yod plus Aleph, Yod plus Beit, Yod plus Gimel, Yod plus Dalet, Yod. And then we don't say Yod plus Hey, because that would spell Ka, right? One of the nicknames of God. So instead, the Bible uses Tet plus Vav, 9 plus 6. And the same thing for the next one. It will also be one of the forms of God's name. So we don't treat his name identically. We don't even say his name, right? So instead it'll be Tet plus Zion, that's 16. And then it goes back to normal. Yod plus Chet, Yod plus Tet, Yod plus, then it's Kaf. It's 20. And then Kaf is all normal, all the way. Kaf plus Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dal, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, all the way to 29. And then we get to the next letter in the alphabet. Lamed is 30. And you see they're all normal too. Until we get to 40. All right. That's your hyper counting. Aye. All right. So, 30. Davakti. Davak is to cleave. This is the word that's used about man cleaving to his wife, right? Davakti. I have cleaved. Or he's probably saying I cleave, right? It seems like the perfect is being used for present tense a lot in the psalm. Brooks says, so Talitha, Kumi would not be come up, girl, in Talit. So that's in Hebrew. Yeah. In Hebrew, you're correct. Yeah, that'd be good in Hebrew. But the way it's captured in the Greek, Yeshua is speaking Jewish Aramaic at that time. Yeah, very good. So you're right. In Hebrew, Kumi. In Aramaic, Kuma. Yeah, at least the Jewish dialect. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Young girl arise. Exactly. Okay. Ve'edotecha. So I cleave, or I have cleaved. Ve, to, or with, or in. Eidotecha. These are the eidut, the testimonies, which means the Ten Commandments, right? Of cha, of you. So again, we're working our way through different kinds of commands, right? He's talking real generally. He starts off about davar in these couplets, right? Your word, in general, your word, all the word is great, right? And there's a lot of talk about the derech, which implies halacha, the way in which we should walk, right? The path. And then he wants to be taught the chuqim, right? The statutes, the commandments that we don't know why God wants us to do them, but we do them. And the piqudim, right? The precepts, as Christopher shared from ESV, right? Or I was saying the regulations, but a precept sounds better. Um, and all of this is causing the psalmist to see Hashem's niflaot, his wonders, right? But he's in this sick state. He's in this spiritual. There's a spiritual problem or a real problem of sickness, right? He started off talking about his neck is in the dust, or right, and now he's saying my whole body it's sagging from grief. Strengthen me with your word. So we're back to word again. A nice inclusio with the first verse, right? This is a common Hebrew poetic device to use the same word or phrase to tie you back to another section to remind you of it mentally, right? On the false path, remove from me by means of your Torah. Now we have the general term for law, right? Your law or your instruction. Show me favor. Okay, and now we're on. Okay, okay. Now lamad, derech emunah. Again, we've got derech. So instead of the derech sheker, which we just had, a false path. And by the way, sheker can also sometimes be poetic for idols. Also, shav, emptiness, vanity. Chevel, all of these things, they can be poetic for idols, right? But now, instead of that, he doesn't want that. He wants the derech emunah, the way of faith, or the true way. This is where we get amen from. It's from the same root here. Aleph mem nun, right? Amen is like, I affirm, I agree, etc. Emunah is faith. When it's talking about what a person should have. When it's the nuance, when it's talking about what God has, then it's what we usually call faithfulness, right? It's something like his emet, his fidelity. A lot of times you'll see emunah and emet or chesed ve'emet together. Brenda says, Shalom, can you do multiple shorts for the word nephesh? Oh, that's a good idea to do maybe more than one short. That's a nice idea, Brenda. Yeah, maybe I could do that some because a lot of times I have to choose how much to talk about, and I have to do like 5 takes. I'm like, oh man, 61 seconds, or even if it's 60 seconds, I'll upload it to YouTube, and they're like, not a short. It's like 60.1. So yeah, I'll think about that. That's a nice idea. Thanks for the suggestion. We could have like nephesh part 1. Okay. So derech emunah, a path of faith. Bacharati. Bachar means to choose. If you pray the Siddur, I know a lot of people that have been praying the traditional prayers for years. They got it memorized, but they don't know always what they're saying. So we say, Bachar banu mikol ha'amin. He chose us. Bachar, he chose us from all peoples, right? All nations. So bacharti, I chose. So the path of faith I have chosen. Mishpatecha, that's mishpatim, judgments. So it's another word for command, right? Judgments now of cha. Your judgments, shiviti. Shiviti. This one, yeah, this can mean a lot of things. Shiviti. So this could be like I've laid down. So he's like saying I've laid down in them. That doesn't seem so right. Place, place, like kind of like placed his goal on them. Yeah. So trying to see, do we have any Hebrew parallel to help us choose it? Oh, I'll say place. By means of your judgments, I have placed. I've like set. The idea is like cast his lot there, right? That's where he is. Yeah, and that works well with the soul was sagging down, but now the derech emunah bacharti, I have chosen the path of faith. Your by means of your judgments, I have placed. It's kind of hard to process this word. The meaning doesn't fit so great, but yeah, if someone has a suggestion, I'm open to it. Uh, Yanasi says, "Can the word sagging be replaced with melting?" Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some say melting. Yeah, it's kind of controversial. Um, where is that guy? Daleth. It's kind of controversial because it doesn't show up a lot in the Bible. I think maybe five times, four times that word is in total. In the whole Hebrew scriptures. So yeah, melting, melting would work. I mean, melting and sagging, right? Is kind of the same thing. I probably wouldn't go with melting just because my body's melting. Like my frame is melting. Maybe if they're saying my soul, it's a little bit more ethereal, and that might work. Troy says, I started writing your word of the day on 3x5 index cards. Very good idea. You guys listen to what Troy's doing. That is very smart. Yeah. The process, when you write it down, the more senses that you can employ in learning vocabulary, the better chance you'll have of remembering it. So speak it when you write it also, Troy. Speak it. And when you write it, you're writing it, right? And you've heard it then, right? If only you could smell it, it'd be really useful. Yeah, that's a very good idea. Yeah. Nice. And then you got the flashcards. Very good. And these are very important. Don't slack on the words of the day. We have a plan, right? We have a map. The map is 13 months into it. If you didn't buy one already, it's time. It's going to be time to buy a Hebrew Reader's Bible, and you are going to be shocked and surprised and enjoy that you're going to open up that Bible and you'll close your eyes and randomly point to a word, and there's going to be a 79 point, I think it's 6% chance. So we'll say 80% chance that you will know that word. You see? Even though there's 9,000 plus words, we are doing the most common words in the Hebrew words of the day, right? So we're hitting those high repeating words that occur 1,000 times, 2,000 times, 500 times, so that you will have the 80% of the vocabulary you need, even though it's only like 300 and change, yeah? So, but you got to learn them. So writing them down on flashcards is a great idea because you can't always be watching the videos over and over again. Of course, I don't mind if you watch the videos 100 times. That's also nice. Yeah, Enrique says, great idea, Troy. Yeah, it really is. Brooke says, me too. And I draw a picture. Oh, that's good too. Yeah. And if you're a visual person, like if you're a visually minded person, um, one thing that I recommend, it can get a bit pricey, right? But if you're a visual learner, like you really learn visually, you could try getting black construction paper, right? And getting some of those pens. Like, have you ever seen the white creamy pens? Or they sometimes have metallic pens, right? And then you can write your vocabulary word. So it's like white on black, right? Boom, it really pops out, right? And you're like writing it on your mind. Make sure to not write sloppily. If you're like me and you have bad handwriting, force yourself to write neatly. It'll be easier for you to remember too. So if you can do that, that's another thing. Yeah, the flashcards are great. And if you really like colors, try using like one of those colors that pops. Even you could use a neon color on a white paper. That's fine too, right? But for me, I just really like black. Black with silver on it or white on it when I'm learning vocabulary. I think that's really useful. Yeah, good, good. Yeah, Yanasi says, I remember you telling us to do flashcards during our early lessons. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's really good method. I'm glad Troy spoke up. I don't know why I didn't tell you guys that before. Good, good. Okay, let's continue. Um, Check our time. Pretty good. We're almost done. Verse lamad. So again, we have davak, right? Davak, look, now we have another inclusio back. It's very interesting, the psalm, the symmetry here, right? How we keep tying back to different places in the beginning. So, davakti, I have cleaved the edotecha, your, it's the Ten Commandments, your testimonies, right? Or your pacts, your agreements, some would say this, right? But it makes us think of the luchot avanim, right? The stone tablets. Oh, Yod Hey, Wow Hey, right? Oh Adonai. Notice there's no vowels here. So this really is the name of God, the sacred name of God. Although I don't recommend speaking it aloud, right? We make his name holy, right? We don't treat his name like other names. Okay. Al tevisheni. Al means don't, but it's like a softer way to say don't. Look, it's low backwards. Low is don't or no, and this is al. It's spelled the same way but backwards, right? And it's just a bit softer. Don't means like never do it, right? That's why in the Ten Commandments it doesn't say al tignov, don't steal for now. It says lo tignov, right? Don't ever steal, right? But this is al. This is softer because the psalmist is speaking to God. He's not commanding God. Al tevisheni. Okay. Do not make me embarrassed, please. Do not make me ashamed, right? And it's kind of the recurring theme, right? Previously, the psalmist said, Al tikach mitzvotecha mimeni. Don't take your commandments from me, please. Do not cause me to err, right? I want to see your commandments, etc., etc., etc. And then finally, verse lamad beit, that's 32. Yeah, good session, guys. Keep the ideas coming. Derech mitzvotecha arutz ki tarchiv libi. Now again, look at this. Look, today we've got it's very nice. Derech, 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 derech. If you had to say the theme from the daleth couplets, right? Because today every verse starts with a daleth. It's going to be derech, the path, being on the right path, not going to the side. And the psalmist continues to bring up, there's like this underlying tone of death and the possibility of death. And, kayimeni, literally that says strongly make me stand, right? Make me stand up, right? But it's really like strengthen me, right? He's restoring the life, right? With your word. So we have derech and we have word keeps coming as well as the different types of commandments. So the derech mitzvotecha, the path of your mitzvot, the commandments of cha, of you, arutz, I will run. So it's like by means. Oftentimes when you have a phrase before the verb, it's an instrumental usage in Hebrew syntax. Not always in Psalms, right? So this feels to me like it's saying, by means of the path of your commandments, I will run. Like I'm able to run now. What happened? The couplet started out, he's laying in the dirt, he's laying in the mud, right? He's not running. He says, Hayeni, bring me back alive, right? Restore me. Cause me to stand up. So he's laying down, and then the undertone, even though it says strengthen me, but the undertone is kum, right? Make me stand. That's about in the middle. And now, at the very end, arutz, I will run. Derech mitzvotecha arutz. Ki, because, tarchiv libi. You have made wide, you made broad my mind. Literally, it says my heart. But as I've said before, lev in Hebrew means mind, right? Usually this is translated into Septuagint, Jewish Greek, as deonosia, like my mind, my capacity for thought, my imagination, etc. Oh, sorry for the hairy arm there. Wow, the microscope really brings up. Great, beautiful, nice. We finished Daleth. So we've done Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Daleth. We've done a full 32 verses in Psalm 119. Yanasi says, let me not, sure. In the ESV, Psalm 119 is titled as Your Word is a Lamp to My Feet, which may explain the derech. Ooh, yeah, that's good. Yeah. Nice. Julia says, thank you so much. Sorry for all the questions. I drove my teachers loco. Don't you know I'm loco? In school, I have to know everything. No, it's good. I like that. I like questions. I like it. And the back and forth from you guys, and even when you're sharing your ideas like Troy did, I love it. It makes me feel more like this is a living class, right? Than like me pre-recording something and you're just going to watch it later. I feel more connected to my students. I really like it. Enrique says, powerful. Tada, Rabbi. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, guys, be well. Have a great rest of the day. Oh, and I just want to share real quick. Yep, just as always, please remember my friend, Dr. Dwayne Miller, and check out his teachings on matzai.com as well, okay? Yes, and the Omer, thank you. Woo! Yanasi got it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leseferat et haomer shloshim v'shesha. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandments and has commanded us to count the Omer 36. All right, 4 days until Yom HaMashiach, which is a holiday that I'm trying to invent. I'm trying to get to catch on. The 40th day is when Yeshua ascended. The 40th day of the count of the Omer when he ascended into heaven. And nobody celebrates this. And it's a mem. Mem even stands for Mashiach. It's like so perfect. Why is this not one of our holidays? All right, you guys have a great evening or morning, and I